The case of Susan Smith. The case of Susan Smith, a mother from Union, South Carolina, who drowned her two young sons in October 1994, is one of the most heartbreaking and infamous crimes in recent American history. The case drew massive media attention due to the nature of the crime and Smith's initial claims that her children had been kidnapped by an unknown assailant. Her eventual confession and the details of the case shocked the nation and highlighted issues related to mental health and the justice system. Background: Susan Leigh Vaughan Smith, born on September 26, 1971, Susan Smith had a troubled childhood marked by her parents' divorce and her father's suicide when she was 6 years old. She grew up in Union, South Carolina, and was known to be a friendly and outgoing individual. Susan married David Smith in 1991, and they had two sons, Michael Daniel Smith and Alexander Tyler Smith. Their marriage was troubled, marked by infidelity and financial difficulties. The crime. October 25, 1994, Susan Smith reported that her car had been hijacked by an African American man who drove away with her two sons still inside. She claimed that she was stopped at a red light when the carjacker forced his way into her vehicle, ordered her out, and drove off with Michael, aged 3, and Alex, aged 14 months. The search and media coverage. Intense search. Susan Smith's plea for the safe return of her children led to an intense search effort by local, state, and federal authorities. The case quickly gained national attention, with extensive media coverage and public appeals for information. Emotional appeals. Susan and her husband, David, made several emotional public appeals for the return of their children. Susan appeared distraught and tearful during these appearances, which initially garnered public sympathy. The confession. November 3, 1994, after 9 days of investigation and increasing inconsistencies in Susan Smith's account, she confessed to the crime. She admitted that she had driven her car to John D. Long Lake, strapped her sons into their car seats, and let the car roll into the lake, where it submerged with her children inside. She had fabricated the carjacking story to cover up the murders. Motive. Susan Smith's motive was believed to be linked to her relationship with a wealthy local man, Tom Findlay, who had ended their relationship. Findlay had expressed that he did not want children, and it was suggested that Susan saw her children as an obstacle to a future with him. Investigation and trial. Evidence. The investigation revealed that Susan had written a letter to Tom Findlay expressing her love and her desire to be with him, which supported the theory that her motive was to remove her children as perceived obstacles. Psychological state. The defense argued that Susan Smith was mentally ill and suffering from severe depression and suicidal tendencies. They claimed that her actions were driven by a mental breakdown rather than cold-blooded intent. Trial. Susan Smith's trial began in July 1995. The prosecution sought the death penalty, arguing that she had committed premeditated murder. The defense contended that she was mentally ill and should be sentenced to life imprisonment. Verdict. On July 22, 1995, Susan Smith was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Impact and legacy. The case of Susan Smith had a profound impact on public consciousness and the legal system. Media sensation. The case received extensive media coverage, with intense public interest and scrutiny of Susan Smith's actions and motives. The emotional appeals and the eventual revelation of her guilt led to widespread outrage and disbelief. Discussion on mental health. The case highlighted the complexities of mental health issues in criminal behavior. It raised questions about the role of mental illness in criminal responsibility and the adequacy of mental health support and intervention. Parole eligibility. Susan Smith will be eligible for parole in 2024, after serving 30 years of her sentence. The prospect of her parole has sparked debate about justice, rehabilitation, and the appropriate punishment for such a crime. Conclusion. As we explore the case of Susan Smith on True Crime, we will delve into the detailed timeline of events, the investigation, and the broader societal implications of this tragic case. Join us as we examine the evidence, the impact on the community, and the ongoing debates about justice, mental health, and the criminal justice system. The story of Susan Smith serves as a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of untreated mental illness and the importance of understanding the complex factors that can drive individuals to commit unthinkable acts.